When it comes to low back pain, sometimes it's just the smallest daily tasks that we do that are some of the biggest contributors to keeping us in pain. So today I wanted to talk about something that is very common and very easy to remedy, and that is the height of a sink that you're using throughout the day. So your bathroom sink, your kitchen sink, wherever you're washing your hands or washing the dishes several times a day. I marked on my clothes here the difference between a low sink and a high sink and kind of the difference between the two. So right now I'm staying at my parents' house, and they built this house in the 70s, and the bathroom sinks are those old-fashioned, really, really low sinks. Nowadays, if you're in a new construction or something like that, a house that's been remodeled, you're probably going to see the sinks at a much higher level, and that's just simply because it feels much better to your body to use those. So I just want you to take a moment and look around your house, look around your workplace, and see where the height of the sink hits your body. For me, the low sink hits me right here, which is just above my mid-thigh. The high sink hits me right about the crest of my hip bone right here. So the difference there is if I'm using a high sink, all I have to do is just reach my hands forward, wash my hands, wash the dishes, whatever, and I don't need to stoop forward or bend at all. But if I'm using this sink way down here, in order to reach the water, obviously I'm going to have to lean forward to use it. And you might be wondering what the big deal is. I mean, it's just a momentary bending, and shouldn't be that big of a deal. But really, these are the habits that often contribute to the pain the most. So I always go through these sorts of things with people in my coaching programs, just your day-to-day life and how the little habits that you're doing are keeping your back from healing properly or from being supported and strong. So if you're at a low sink like this, you're probably wondering, what can you do about it? You're obviously not going to remodel your entire house. And even if you have nice high sinks in your house, you're going to be visiting people or in a workplace that has a low sink that you have to use. So it's really simple how to counteract this. All it really takes is just a brief, momentary changing of the way that you move your body. And again, like in my coaching programs, that's probably the very most important indicator to me if someone's going to be really successful, is if they're able to look at those little tiny habits throughout their day and make the small changes and just stop themselves for a moment and think, hey, you know what? I'm gonna just put my body in a safe position before I do this, rather than just going through the motions the way that most of us do. So if you have gotten my training that's about proper bending and lifting, this is what I'm talking about in that training. And if you haven't gotten it and you want it, just let me know and I'll send that over. But real brief overview of that is if you're using a low sink and you need to bend over, instead of just bending over like this and taking all of the body weight of your upper body and bending it forward, therefore putting all of that strain and all of that stress on your low back, instead of doing that, it just takes a quick moment to instead activate the muscles that are going to support that motion. So what I mean is, by activating is kind of clenching them up, firing them up, and making sure that those muscles are the ones that are driving the motion and that are absorbing any impact from that motion. So the muscles that you want to support you in this motion are going to be your glutes and your upper legs primarily. So you're going to want to fire those muscles up so you feel them supporting your body, and just pushing your hips, hinging your hips backwards. Now, as you hinge your hips backwards, you see that I'm naturally bending forward, but that bending is not coming from dropping the weight of my upper body forward. It's coming from that hinge. Okay, so all of the motion is coming from right here, and it's putting absolutely zero strain on my low back. I just feel these muscles all fired up and through my legs, that they're supporting me. And this way I can easily bend forward to this height and wash my hands without putting my back at risk at all. So Does it look a little bit funny? Yes, it looks a little bit funny to do a hip hinge when you need to bend forward and use a sink. But for the most part, you're probably washing your hands by yourself. And if you're washing the dishes around other people and you feel funny about it, I mean, honestly, I'd rather look a little bit funny and protect my low back than continue bending the wrong way and hurting my back over and over. So that's all I have to say about low sinks versus high sinks. If you want that additional training on how to bend and lift properly, I go through this in much more detail, and it's a really, really valuable skill to learn. It's very simple. And what I went through just now took me a little bit of time just to explain it to you, but it doesn't take any time at all once you practice it. I mean, if I go to a low sink, it just becomes automatic. It becomes muscle memory to protect my back and just fire up my glutes, hinge my hips back, and wash my hands like that. So good luck with that, and let me know if you need that extra training.